The Season 3 final has dropped, and now it's time to break down the 6 key takeaways from Episode 8 or Chapter 24. Get comfy guys, because there is a lot to unpack here.
This is the way.
And I don't think all is as it seems. We're actually going to start off on a positive note today, and that's going to be a green circle for Grogu. Now, Grogu as a character hasn't had much development throughout Season 3. He's largely been a background character, and I don't really know why he was there in the first place. But in this episode, Grogu has really come into his own. We've seen him get more and more involved since he's put on the IG-12 suit in the physical side of conflicts. But on top of that, he also saved Din Djarin from the troopers that took him away at the back end of episode 7, and he saved Din and Bo towards the end of the episode, demonstrating excellent force abilities alongside the force abilities he's demonstrated to escape the Praetorian Guards or to really not be killed and help Din in his fight with them. So with Grogu, on this note, I would also like to add that even though Luke Skywalker wasn't in this episode, he very much was in this episode. That time, that valuable time that Grogu spent with Luke away from Din Djarin really came and paid off this time around. And now we leave the episode with Grogu as a character, no longer a foundling. He's now a Mandalorian apprentice, and Din Djarin is now his official father, his adopted father, which I think is really cool. And I can't wait to see where Din and Grogu go in Season 4, and we'll come on to a bit of speculation about that in a moment. Now we're going to move on to circle number 2, and it's going to be a red one, and that's actually going to be for the spies. Now, that was the name of episode 7, and we've all been speculating since last week on who these spies actually are. Are they the Armourer? Is it Paz Vizsla? Is it the survivors on the surface of Mandalore? I mean, we all knew that Elia Kane was an Imperial spy within the New Republic, but I don't think she's featured heavily enough to warrant a whole episode to be named after her, especially in last episode as well. So we leave Season 3 now not really knowing if there is a spy on the inside of the Mandalorians, or who is actually the spy. The survivors didn't seem to be it. Axe Woves certainly didn't seem to be it, sacrificing himself. And the Armourer didn't seem to be it either, because she was all for helping the Mandalorians against the Imperial remnants, against Moff Gideon's forces. If you have any further theories off the back of this episode who the spy could have been, drop them in the comments. Now, we're going to go back to a green circle, and that is going to be for Din Djarin. Largely throughout this season, he has been a side character to Bo-Katan. He's pretty much been a sidekick in his own show. Now, we've seen similar things happen in the Book of Boba Fett when Din Djarin came in. However, I will say, in this episode, Din Djarin was very much back to his best. He was a much more central character to this episode, which I think is only right as well. It doesn't look like he's going to get bullied by pretty much everyone he comes across, which is what's really happened throughout the majority of this season, in my opinion, as well. He also got his own hallway scene. So you always associate the Star Wars hallway scenes with lightsabers, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, but Din Djarin very much got his own hallway scene, and it was very, very good, very well done. And it actually made me think, I don't remember Din Djarin ever demonstrating that kind of level of fighting ability in all the seasons of The Mandalorian that we've seen him than he did against them troopers in the hallway scene with them red laser beams. So I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy with the character of Din Djarin in the season final. And it was also good for Din and Bo to be fighting alongside each other as equals, rather than Bo just dominating and saving Din time and time again. Now this one's going to be an orange circle, and that's for Gideon's clones. Now the clones, okay, even though introduced in season 3, the idea has been there ever since season 1. That was the whole idea, that Moff Gideon wanted Grogu. The experiments on Navarro was Gideon. That was nothing to do with the rest of the Empire, the other Imperial remnants in the galaxy that we thought were scattered, but they're actually not. For them clones to come in season 3, you would think you'd get more to it than just one of them opening their eyes and then being accidentally destroyed. Like, this is Moff Gideon's grand plan. You'd have to think the season 2 Dark Troopers were part of his plan, but not the ultimate goal of what he was trying to achieve. That was always the clones, and the Dark Troopers caused more chaos than these clones did. So what was up with that? I will say, however, I do not think it's the end of the clones. And if we look deeper into the story of the clones here, if these clones are force sensitive, and it does look like they are, you know, they did wake up and Gideon spoke of them being force sensitive, then Moff Gideon has accomplished something that the galaxy has always struggled with when it comes to cloning, and that is also cloning force sensitivity, making these clones force sensitive. Countless experiments, as we know, in Star Wars do tend to go wrong when you try and merge the force with clones. Well, if Gideon's pulled this off, this is a great feat, and well, for the bad guys, and it just makes me wonder, where is this going to go? Will his research then be picked up in the future, perhaps in another season, maybe season 4, maybe season 5, or another show, maybe with Thrawn, or maybe much further into the future in a Star Wars movie that is on the horizon. But overall, in this season, I think the clones were a bit of a disappointment that we didn't see more of them, but I think it does hint as to what's to come going forwards. Now, circle number 5 is going to be a red box, and we've covered some of these already, and that is for unanswered questions. Now, we don't know who the spies are, but also there are many unanswered questions in this episode. For example, the Darksaber. So the Darksaber was destroyed by Moff Gideon when Bo-Katan was fighting him. Does that mean that Bo-Katan does no longer have the ability to lead Mandalore? Are they no longer going to follow her going forwards now? Is there going to be another leader put into place? What's really going to go down there? What happened with the Mythosaur? We saw the Mythosaur awaken in the living waters towards the end of the episode, but as of now, it's only the Bo-Katan and the Armorer that actually know about its existence. No one else actually knows, so why didn't we get more with the Mythosaur? Are they going to rebuild Mandalore going forwards? I assume they are, but I would have liked to have seen the beginnings of that in this episode, or a nod towards their plans going forward. Now, of course, they did light the Forge, but that's only one thing. You want to really see them settling down, and you know Mandalore, until we get to season 4, is going to be returning into the planet that it once was. Now, a big one that I'm going to take out of this season is Moff Gideon really dead? Now, we know from season 2 that the Dark Trooper armor is fire resistant, and I'm led to believe that if Moff Gideon's going to recreate the next generation of Dark Trooper armor for himself, he's also going to make it fire resistant. He's not an idiot. You know, he wears that Beskar armor because it's lightsaber proof. That was one of the problems he had with the Dark Troopers previously, and I don't think he's going to upgrade it to be lightsaber proof, but then take away another one of its capabilities, which would be its resistance to fire. So I'm led to believe that Moff Gideon might not actually be dead, and he might have somehow survived season 3. And also, I just want to finish off on this circle with no post-credit scene for season 3. Now, we've got a post-credit scene in the Book of Boba Fett, but not in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So I really thought they would have took that opportunity to set up Din and Grogu's story going forwards, what we can look at in season 4, or maybe even in the Ahsoka show or in the Skeleton Crew show. So I think they did lose a little bit on having no post-credit scene there, that's for sure. Now, circle number 6, and this is going to be a green box, and not everyone's going to agree with me, and I've seen many comments where people don't actually agree on this, but for me, I quite enjoyed the conclusion of the episode. It was very satisfying to this arc of Din's story in season 1, season 2, season 3. I don't understand why they've tied the Book of Boba Fett into that when Dave Filoni said it's going to feel like an ending or a nice conclusion to the Book of Boba Fett and the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. I don't think the Book of Boba Fett played much part in it, but for what it is, for The Mandalorian as a standalone, that was a nice conclusion. Din Djarin having a house, Grogu as his kid, kicking it back, really, taking things a little bit slower, getting out of what we could call the rat race of Star Wars, is something that Din Djarin has always been drawn to. Was it season 1 when he was tempted to stay on that planet with Grogu to play with the kids and remove his helmet with that woman? It's a story that I think's always been on the cards for Din Djarin. How long it's going to last, I'm not sure, but the overall conclusion of the episode really giving Din Djarin what we thought he's always wanted, he's always looked for, is nice. It almost feels like a reset for the character. Maybe could even say it's a calm before the storm with what's coming in the galaxy with Thrawn. So there's our circles. Overall, I did enjoy the season final of The Mandalorian. Could it have been better? Yes. Is it as good as the season 2 final? No. But I still enjoyed it. And what really gives me comfort now, as it's all come to pass, is knowing that the story isn't over, knowing that there is a season 4 of The Mandalorian, knowing that the other 2 shows that are coming this year are also based in this same time frame, in this same universe, so they're all in some way going to be connected. So this isn't the end of Star Wars in this point of time for this year. We've got more to come. I think this episode just very much served as an ending, closing the book on the chapter of introducing us to the Mandalorian and all these crazy cool characters that come with it in live action. Now, my score for this show, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10, which I think is pretty good. Could it have been better? Yes, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. Now, moving forwards into the Ahsoka series, I do wonder if Din and Grogu are actually going to be involved in it in some capacity. Perhaps with The Mandalorian now working for the New Republic in a way, more as a contractor. Maybe that ties him in to the conflict that's coming with Thrawn and with the Empire. But then on the flip side of that, it looks like they're setting up Season 4 of The Mandalorian to really return to the original format of maybe Season 1, Season 2, where Din Djarin and Grogu were travelling across the galaxy trying to complete a mission. Now, I did really enjoy them kind of stories, but if Season 4 is going to do that when all of this is exploding around them in the other shows, it would seem a bit off. So I'm not too sure where we're going to end up in Season 4 of The Mandalorian, or how the Ahsoka series, Skeleton Crew, is going to affect Din Djarin and Grogu. I guess we're going to have to wait and see for that. Guys, let me know in the comments, did you enjoy this season final? If so, drop your scores out of 10. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like on today's video, it's greatly appreciated. I'll catch you in the next one. This is The Way.